Okay, I'm going to have you open two things in your notes. I want you to have this document, play number 1, representing decimals. That's our notes. I also want you to have the place value chart, which you should have found in your math resources section. I want you to have both of those. You can keep this in your notes for now because we'll probably go back and forth between the two documents to help you out. But I want you to have both of those. So if you need Mrs. Merkel to pause so that you can get both loaded, please do that now. Now, obviously, when you look at this document or this note sheet, you see a sign in the top right-hand corner. And there's something wrong with that sign. Hopefully, you can kind of look at that and figure out what is wrong. It says that fish and chips, the catch of the day, costs a whole $899. Do you think it's possible to go to a restaurant and have it cost $899 for fish and chips? That would be really, really good fish and chips. And I don't think that they're possibly that good. So there is a problem. The problem is that we are missing a decimal point. There should be a decimal point right about there between the 8 and the 9. Okay, and that would be $8.99. So decimal points are really important. They make a difference between $8.99 and $899. That's huge. So we don't want to be making mistakes with where our decimals are. So I want you to look at this decimal down here, this number, 4.3527. And think about what that really represents. And so I want to write the place value above each of these. Now, we should know that the 4 is in the ones place. This point is our decimal. The 3 is in the tenths place. This is the 5 is in the hundreds place. Now I'm going to have to kind of zoom out a little bit so that I can write this in. Hundredths. Now notice that all the place values after the decimal point or to the right of the decimal have the TH on them. Okay. The 2 is in the thousandths place. And then finally the 7 is in the 10,000ths place. Let's go over to our place value chart and just write it in so I can show you how to use that resource. So I'm going to write the same number, 4.3527. So when I go to use this place value chart, I want to line it up exactly like it is on the other sheet. So the first thing I'm going to put in is the decimal. Okay, and then I'm going to write it 4.3527. And then you can see above each one is the place value. So this is going to be a really helpful tool for you to use when we're doing place value. You can write any number in this chart as long as you've got the decimal in the right place, and you will be able to find the place value of the number. Okay, so I want you to have this. I want you to use it. It's going to be great now that it's on the iPad because you don't have to erase or get a new one when you run out of room. You can just erase the number and write again. Okay, back to the notes. Okay, now what do you think I mean by standard form? Okay, standard form. The word standard typically means, normal, regular, ordinary, the norm. So when I say standard form, all that means is write the decimal the way it normally looks, okay? So the way it is right above here, this is standard form, okay? So write it normal. Normal. That's all standard form is. Oh, I better erase that. My handwriting's really messy today. Write it normal. Normally. Okay. So you guys could give some examples here. I'll write down a couple examples, but you could probably write your own too. You could have 0.5. We could have 1.25. We could have 100.1, 1000.1. All those are standard form. Now, notice the text message tip that is written over here. Notice what it says. I'm going to highlight it a little bit. It says adding zeros all the way to the right after the decimal doesn't change the number's value. That should say doesn't. Okay, so for example, 2.4 is the same as 2.40 or 2.400. I can write zeros forever and ever and ever, and it will never change the value. I can write them on and on and on, and that'll still just be 2.4. Oh, you can't really see that on my screen. I'm sorry. I'll zoom it in a little so you can see. You see it a little better than if I do that? Nope, not having it. Okay, anyway, let's go to the next screen, or the next page. All right, now the next one is word form. Okay, the way that we do word form is to take the, it's just to take the number and read it in words, say it in words. Okay, the decimal stated in place value terms. Now the way that you want to do this, I'm going to pop back over to the other example, and the way you want to do this is you want to look at the last digit. So for example, on this one, our last digit is the 7, and it's in the 10,000s place. That's going to be the last word of our word form. The decimal always is stated as and. Okay, so we always want to say and for the decimal. I'm going to erase that, it's kind of messy again. I'm going to rewrite it. So the decimal is and. So for this one, we would say 4 and 3,527 10,000s, because this is our last place value. So we'll write that down on the notes. So our example would be 4, oops, started to write numbers, didn't I? The example would be 4, sorry about that, 4 and 3,000 4 and 3,527 10,000s. Don't forget that TH. It makes a very big difference. Okay, now the next one is expanded form, and this is probably the hardest. Expanded form is just the sum, okay, which means to add the sum of the products, which I hope you remember means to multiply, the products of the digit and its place value. Now I know that sounds probably very confusing, but it's actually quite easy. In order to do this, I'm going to write our number down again. It's 4.3527. The way you want to do this is you want to look at each digit and find the place value that goes with it. So let's go back to the place value chart and figure out the place values. This is a 1, and you can see right above the digits, it actually gives you the place value digit or place value number, and those are right here. So the way we would write it in expanded form, I'm going to do it right here just so you can see it, and then I'll go back and write it on the notes. But if you look here, you would take the definition of expanded form is the sum of the products of the digit and its place value, so that means we're going to add up a bunch of products. So we start by writing a parentheses. Oh, don't like to use my highlighter. Let's use the pen. We're going to start by writing the digit, okay, which is a 4, times the place value, which in this case is 1. Okay, that's one product, but we need to do the product of every digit, and we need to do this sum. So we add, then we add 3, the next digit, times 0.1, because that's the place value right above the 3, plus 5, that's the third number, times oops, sorry, didn't mean to do that, 0.01, plus 2 times 0.001, plus, last one, 7 times 0.0001. Okay, so that's how you do expanded form. You basically take every digit in the number and multiply it times the place value that is in this chart right here, or in this row. Okay, that's what you multiply by. Okay, and that's why this chart is going to come in so handy for you. So I'm going to go back and write it on my other notes so you have the example. So this would be, again, 4 times 1, because that's the ones place, plus 3 times 0.1, because it's the tenths place, plus 5 times 0.01, because that's in the hundredths place, plus 2 times 0.001, because that is the thousandths place, and lastly 7 times 0.0001. Okay, that is how you do expanded form. So once again, word form is you say it just like it's written. The last word is the place value. When you do expanded form, you take the digits and expand it out by multiplying times the place value. It's actually not too bad. Okay, hopefully you got some of that information down, and I want you to now practice a little bit. You're going to watch a PowerPoint, and you're going to answer some questions. I want you to please use the place value chart. You can just create a new line every time you need to put in a new number. So for example, if I erase this now, if I erase all this, let's do one more example really quickly on here. Like if I gave you the number 100.1 or 100 and 1/10, that would be 100.1, that's 100 and 1/10. That's how you would say it in word form. And if I wanted to expand this, I would write 1 times 100, because that's the place value up here, plus 0. You do want to include your zeros, even though they don't really matter, because you multiply them and it equals 0, but we still want to expand it and show it, plus 0 times 1, plus 1 times 0.1. Okay, now please, if you are confused, because expanded form can be confusing, please raise your hand and ask Mrs. Merkel to give you a few more examples and use this place value chart to practice some more. You're going to use, you can use this as well during your actual practice problems. Okay, great job listening today, and hopefully I'll get a great report when I get back, and we will continue practicing this on Friday. Okay, thanks for listening, and I will see you tomorrow.